Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabien Zinga.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If you need to develop into a better leader, this podcast is for you. If you want to achieve a greater level of success, this podcast is for you. His mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, said it best: everything rises and falls on leadership. We hope to inspire you today and provide you with an insight that has the potential to positively impact the trajectory of your life. Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast.
Imagine gaining the leadership skills that could redefine your career. Join Coach BZ on the Leadership and Success Podcast, where each episode delivers practical insights from world-class speakers, military leaders, and industry experts. We dive deep into what matters most: building resilient teams, leading through uncertainty, and navigating complexity with clarity and confidence. Every conversation is crafted for aspiring leaders like you who are ready to grow, lead, and make a lasting impact. Don't miss our powerful live sessions and recent highlights. Michelle Hayward on building diverse, high-performing technical teams. Ann Leslie on leading through global complexity and cybersecurity risk. Ron Carpenter AI exploring faith, resilience, and AI-powered leadership. Colonel Michelle G.I. Gardner-Ince on commanding influence from the battlefield to the boardroom. Chris Robinson on shifting from drift to drive in life and leadership. And Coach Enrique Acosta Gonzalez on mentorship, legacy, and heart-centered leadership. Ready to level up your leadership journey? Tune in on Spotify, Apple, Audible Podcasts, YouTube Live, and LinkedIn Live. Join the movement toward leadership excellence. Listen now and start transforming your success.
I do walking tours of the 9/11 Memorial for the 9/11 Tribute Center. And I meet people on my tours from all four corners of the globe. On every one of my tours, I mention that most people don't remember what they did yesterday. But I have had so many guests on my tours come up to me and say that they remember every single detail about where they were and what they were doing on September 11th, regardless of where they're from.
When you talk to anybody, say, and you tell them where you were on September 11th, they'll tell you exactly where they were, because even though they may not have been in the building, but they'll definitely remember where they were.
And people always remember every single moment of that day around the world, because September 11, 2001 is not just New Yorker's story, it's not just my story, but it is international part of history and a history of every single person in the world.
And what I say to my guests all the time is, that's your 9/11 story. And you should tell it, because by telling it, by doing so, you help us to share history, and you help us to keep the spirit of what happened here alive. I'm inspired by that. That gives me so much hope.
I believe September 11th would be the equivalent of D-Day for certain generations, or Pearl Harbor, or when JFK was assassinated. Those seminal, markers in your history, in your lifetime.
My cousin was in Pearl Harbor. My father and grandfather remember Pearl Harbor. These generations will need to remember.
I think it's important to try to remember some tragedies. Remember that life can be very precious and can be gone in a flash.
These are emotional memories that cannot be translated into a textbook. These are stories that we tell people, and hopefully the generation will understand this here and bring it forward to the next generation.
I feel that a lot of people use September 11th to remember the wrong things, to remember the divisions instead of what brought us together. And I think as more and more time goes by, more and more people just remember the hate that caused that act instead of the love that followed it. We were all one that day. People from New York, DC, all over the country, all over the world. Everybody was united. I think that's why everybody remembers where they were, because everybody's heart was here. I remember.
I remember.
I remember September 11th.
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 I got a call from my daughter.
Threats are more interconnected, technology moves at an exponential pace, and the stakes, in terms of global stability, human well-being, they're perhaps even higher.
Exactly. But the core message from BZ Zinga and from our deep dive today is that amidst this accelerating complexity, the leadership lessons remain timeless.
They endure.
They endure. Leadership in crisis is not about being flawless. No leader ever is, especially in unprecedented times. It's about being faithful. Faithful to the mission, to your people, and to your core values, even when the path ahead is obscured by uncertainty and fear. This enduring spirit is beautifully demonstrated by the continued tradition of the National Day of Service, now held annually around the 9/11 anniversary.
Right, the 9/11 Day Service Projects.
Yes. On the 24th anniversary, tens of thousands of Americans across the country volunteered in community service projects, actively channeling that spirit of unity, neighborly help, shared purpose seen immediately after the attacks. It's estimated that 30 million Americans participate in 9/11 Day service activities, aiming, as the organizers put it, to rekindle the way we all felt and behaved in the immediate aftermath of the attack.
Rekindle that feeling.
Yeah. This transformation of tragedy into collective action and community strengthening.
Hi everyone, today is Sunday, September the 14th. It's about 8:30 in California, so 11:30 on the East Coast. And thank you for being with me today. So today we are going to have the AI recap for the 9/11 leadership lesson from 9/11 podcast we had yesterday. Before we do, let's do our moment of gratitude. That's where we take less than a minute. And we are going to be grateful for one thing today. So if you would, close your eyes if you can, and put yourself in your happy place. Take a deep breath. Think about one thing you are grateful for today. What are you grateful for? Today I am grateful for community. I am grateful for my friend, for my colleagues, and for the people who live with me in community. I think our unity really is our strength. In France, they say, l'union fait la force. And we need one another. And I am grateful to live in community today. So let us know what you are grateful for. Please type it in the comment section. And also let us know where you are joining us from. And if you have a question for me, type it in the comment and I'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. And also, if you would like the post and repost it in your feed and tag someone within your network who might benefit from this podcast. Thank you so much. We do appreciate that. Okay, so now I'm going to go let my AI agent give you a 10-minute summary of the 45-minute long podcast we had yesterday about the lessons learned from 9/11. Basically, we're going to be talking about clear communication and unified messaging, and why adaptability and innovation are not optional but essential for survival, the critical role of collaboration and trust across diverse organizations, how leaders balance fortitude with empathy, especially under pressure, and also why strategic foresight and resilient cultures must be cultivated before crises arrive, and how we as leaders honor the legacy of 9/11 by balancing security with liberty and leading with courage. Here we go.
Welcome to our discussion. Today we're delving into some really powerful reflections on leadership drawn straight from the events of 9/11, its aftermath, and the transformational lessons that have shaped resilient leadership.
I know it's such a profound topic, especially when you consider how that day and the following one awakened an entire generation to the importance of unity and resilience.
Absolutely. You know, for Bob Fabien, BZ, Zinga, and so many others, 9/11 was like, our own Pearl Harbor, marking a moment of crisis that demanded not just emotional strength, but a complete agile leadership response.
Right. And it's interesting how he frames that the day after, September 12th, wasn't just about destruction. It was about neighbors helping each other, strangers coming together, a true community response.
Yep, and that's what makes these leadership lessons so compelling. The narrative shows that leadership is really tested in the storm, not when everything's calm. It's like, the chaos forces you to adapt, to look for innovative responses, and to lean on every ounce of collective strength.
Yep. And part of that, as he describes, is respecting and communicating honestly through a crisis. It seems like clear, unified messaging was essential back then, and it still is for any leader today, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. Communication was, the lifeline. Think of it like a trumpet calling soldiers into battle, a clear call that cuts through chaos. Leaders back then, from President Bush to local first responders, understood that silence or mixed signals simply fuel fear.
Yeah. It's really fascinating how that historical moment catalyzed so many structural changes too, like the formation of DHS, the overhaul of intelligence through ODNI, and even the creation of NORTHCOM.
Exactly. The attacks pushed the US to consolidate agencies and reframe their national security strategy. Imagine 22 agencies coming together under one umbrella for homeland security. It's like turning a scatter of puzzle pieces into a unified picture.
That's right. And as we get into the leadership commandments, it's striking how these tenets, like adapting relentlessly and anticipating the storm, really encapsulate not just military, but even business leadership.
Absolutely, it's like a playbook for any challenging situation, be it in a naval command or a Silicon Valley tech environment. The idea of adapt relentlessly really speaks to shedding old methods when the environment changes.
Right. Speaking of which, do you think there's ever a time when clinging to traditional methods might actually be beneficial? I mean, some might argue that consistency is key.
That's a valid point. But here's the thing. While consistency has its place, in crisis, being rigid can paralyze progress. It's like trying to steer a ship with a broken compass. Adaptability, as he stresses, means embracing change even when it's tough.
And then there's the emphasis on emotional intelligence. President Bush's moment, standing atop the rubble with a firm bullhorn, really symbolized calm determination. It's almost counterintuitive, leading with tough decisions, yet full of empathy.
For sure. The balance between strength and compassion is crucial. Leaders who can communicate honestly while displaying empathy inspire trust, and that's what makes their teams resilient.
Yeah, totally. Then, of course, there's the commandment to decide with courage. In real-time crisis scenarios, even military and air traffic controllers had to make split-second decisions. No time for second-guessing.
Right. Hesitation in such moments can literally be catastrophic. Decisiveness, even in the face of incomplete information, becomes the difference between chaos and coordinated action.
Spot on. I also noticed that he talks about building anti-fragile cultures. It's that idea that mistakes and failures aren't the end, but stepping stones to growth.
Exactly. It's like saying, failure isn't fatal, it's fuel. You learn, you adjust, and then your team emerges stronger. This is essential, whether you're leading a battalion or a boardroom meeting.
Absolutely. And what do you make of the emphasis on training for the unknown? It's such a simple yet profound point. Constant preparation, even for scenarios you haven't encountered.
Oh, totally. It's like training for a soccer match by practicing drills you never envisioned during a real game. You build that resilience when the unexpected hits. For first responders or cybersecurity experts, Running through simulations and tabletop exercises ensures they're ready no
Right,
matter
exactly.
what happens.
Then there's the idea of cultivating psychological safety, creating an environment where team members feel free to speak up. It's a modern leadership cornerstone.
Yes, absolutely. When people aren't scared to voice concerns or share new ideas because they fear backlash, innovations can truly thrive. It's the difference between a team that stagnates and one that constantly evolves.
That's key. And finally, the focus on expanding your network of support. That's like saying resilience isn't a solo act, it's a team sport.
Right. Having mentors and peers is so vital. Imagine trying to solve a massive puzzle on your own when a simple hint from a colleague can complete the picture. Leadership thrives in a collaborative network where ideas cross-pollinate.
Yeah, very true. All these lessons are woven together by a profound commitment to remember and honor the past, not just to grieve, but to learn and to build on that unity.
Exactly. The act of remembrance fuels leadership. The 24th anniversary commemorations, like the National Day of Service, underscore that remembrance is active. It's turned into action. Communities come together, volunteer, and in doing so, reawaken that shared spirit of resilience.
Yep, I love that. It's almost as if honoring the past through service and reflection becomes its own sort of leadership training.
Definitely so. It reminds every leader that whether you're guiding a ship, steering a company, or safeguarding national security, the core values of unity, adaptability, and communication are timeless.
Right. And then he really nails it with the balance between security and liberty. That ongoing tension is a moral imperative, protecting people without sacrificing freedom.
Yup, that's one of the trickiest parts. You have to manage these dual priorities, ensuring robust defense, yet keeping the spirit of openness and freedom alive. It's a delicate balancing act that modern leaders must master.
Indeed. It seems the overall call to lead today is as relevant as ever. Leaders are not just blazing trails, but are also guardians of collective memory and values.
Exactly. It's more than just a historical account. It's a call to action, to lead with courage when storms hit, to remember that moments of crisis reveal the truest nature of leadership, and to foster a sense of community that can overcome any divide.
Right, absolutely. And I really appreciate how all these themes connect back to personal tradition, like taking a moment of silence every year to honor those lost, reminding us that true leadership is about service.
Yes, it's like an annual renewal, standing in remembrance and then channeling that into actionable leadership. It underscores that each decision made in times of crisis builds the future.
Definitely. However, I wonder if sometimes leaders might risk becoming too rigid in their remembrance, clinging to the past at the expense of adapting to new challenges. What's your take on that?
That's an insightful challenge. While remembrance is core, it's critical that leaders don't fossilize in history. The goal is to learn and evolve. The measure and evolve commandment is all about that continuous cycle of improvement. You remember, assess, and then innovate your approach.
Yes, exactly. And that process of reflection makes space for humble leadership. It's not just about celebrating heroes, but also about questioning, like, what can I do differently next time?
Precisely, humility in leadership turns every after-action review into a learning moment. It's about building on strengths and recognizing areas for growth, kind of like constructing a robust defense for the future.
Right. In the end, these resilient leadership commandments, from adapting relentlessly to expanding your support network, they all call on leaders to be flexible, compassionate, and proactive.
Yep, that's the essence. They remind us that leadership during crisis isn't about having all the perfect answers, but about being committed to service, to learning, and to bringing people together when it matters most.
Exactly. It's been truly inspiring to explore how a tragic event transformed leadership into something greater, one characterized by unity, continuous evolution, and ultimately, hope.
Absolutely. And it shows that even in our modern, complex world, those timeless lessons from 9/11 continue to guide leaders. whether they're on the front lines or in the boardroom.
Yep, very well said. Thanks for such an engaging discussion. It's a reminder that our personal and professional leadership journeys are deeply intertwined with history and memory.
Thank you. Always a privilege to discuss such meaningful topics and to reawaken our commitment to lead with courage and integrity.
Those stovepipes again.
Trying to, yes. These weren't just theoretical changes, they were tangible enhancements driven by the hard-won lessons of that day, ensuring that future threats could be met with a more coordinated and effective response. These reflections on national strategy and defense, in turn, lead us directly to the core of what BZ Zinga identifies as the 10 Commandments of Resilient Leadership.
Right, the 10 Commandments.
Offering timeless wisdom, really, for navigating any storm, whether it's national or organizational.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and incredibly practical. These are the enduring, timeless truths revealed by 9/11, principles that BZ Zinga believes guide leaders across every spectrum, from naval junior officers stepping into command on the high seas to Silicon Valley engineers stepping into leadership roles in a rapidly evolving tech landscape. He calls them the 10 Commandments of Resilient Leadership, and they are truly profound in their applicability and impact.
And what's fascinating here is how these principles aren't just abstract ideas, gleaned from textbooks. They are lessons learned in the crucible of 9/11. Right, forged in the fire.
Exactly. Forged in real-world, high-stakes scenarios where lives and the future of a nation hung in the balance.
Effectively, especially during a crisis, in isolation. Strong leaders understand the necessity of external perspectives and support, bringing in diverse viewpoints to shore up their own understanding and decision-making.
So a practical tip for the listener.
Proactively identify 3 mentors who inspire and guide you, and maybe 3 peers who challenge you to grow and think differently. Actively cultivate and build your network before you desperately need it, because when the storm hits, you'll rely on it.
Build it before you need it. Good advice. And finally, measure and evolve.
The continuous improvement piece.
Right. U.S. security strategy didn't just transform once after 9/11. It reshaped through a continuous iterative process of learning and adaptation. We saw relentless after-action reports, independent commissions like the 9/11 Commission, constant drills and exercises, subsequent legislative and organizational reforms. Leadership wasn't a static endpoint of the initial response. It was an ongoing evolution, driven by data and continuous feedback loops.
And the lesson here is incredibly practical, applies to every field. What gets measured gets stronger.
What gets measured gets stronger.
Resilient leaders don't simply assume that resilience is inherently present in their systems or their people. They actively test it. They measure its effectiveness against new threats. They identify weaknesses, and then they deliberately strengthen it through continuous improvement.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle of learning, adaptation, and hardening.
All right, thank you for watching the 10-minute AI recap with me today on a leadership lesson from 9/11. Please let us know what are your takeaways from this episode. What did you learn, and most importantly, which insight are you going to be able to apply this upcoming week? I hope this has been a blessing to you, and I want to also remind you that next week, Saturday next week, I'm going to be having a live leadership conversation with Daniela McCoy. She's a certified business continuity professional. And after her, I will be talking to Commander, Captain Select, Desmond Walker, right here on the Leadership and Success podcast. And then at the end of the month, I will be talking to the one and only, let me find her, here we go, Octavia Gardema. She's the best-selling author of Prep, Push, and Pivot, but also of the Audible book, How to Change Career and Brand Yourself for Success. So I look forward to those conversations later this month. And thanks again for being with me today. And I'm going to be back tomorrow around 6:30 a.m. California time, 9:30 a.m. Washington, D.C., New York. And I don't see any question on YouTube or LinkedIn for now. So until tomorrow, have a wonderful Sunday. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to our channels and come back for more wisdom nuggets on how you may develop into a better leader and achieve greater levels of success. Leadership is the most critical skill. The world will always need leaders to lead others, deploy the next disruptive technology, or execute a business strategy. You may as well decide on counting yourself among the 21st century leaders. See you right here next time on the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.